Close to Jericho, a blind man called Bartimaeus, was desperate. He calls out to Jesus, shouting louder and louder, and the son of Timaeus shouts, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Some started to get embarrassed. They told him to shut up. But the volume just got louder. Jesus suddenly stops, and after a short conversation asks Bartimaeus, "What can I do for you?" "I want to see," he replied. And the destitute beggar is healed. His circumstances in that moment dramatically changed. The unemployed man now able to work. A few moments later, going through the middle of the town, there's another man desperate to see Jesus. And in contrast, Zacchaeus is possibly the wealthiest man in the town. He has seized the opportunities collaboration has given him. Working with the occupying authorities, he is a tax collector. And in those days, tax collectors had targets of money to collect, with many opportunities to collect significantly more than your target. As Zacchaeus got wealthier, it became clear he was not only a collaborator, but was exploiting the men and women of Jericho. As a result, he was hated. Unable to glimpse Jesus, he climbs a tree. And just as Jesus has stopped in front of Bartimaeus, so now he also stops in front of Zacchaeus. The crowd is scandalized as Jesus looks up to Zacchaeus and says, "I'm coming to your house." We don't know the content of the conversation he had, but there's a dramatic transformation here too. Instead of the drive to acquire, Zacchaeus seems determined to give most of his wealth away. "Half to the poor," he says, "and if I've defrauded you, I'd like to repay you 4 times over." I sometimes then get a little irritated with Luke. I now want to know what happened in Jericho, what happened the following day, the following week, the following months. Did Bartimaeus and Zacchaeus become friends? Does Jericho get changed because of these two transformed men? I voiced my frustration in a confirmation class recently, and a 13-year-old lad spoke up, "Bishop, it's obvious." He paused and then he looked at me and said, "It gets finished in our lives." The story gets finished in our lives.
So a crucial question for each one of us is perhaps this. The material things we have, our income, our possessions, our property, our savings, who do they benefit? Is it only ourselves? Or are those things at the service of God? You see, just as we are today in the circumstances in which we now find ourselves, you and I are called to be rich towards God. As disciples of Jesus, we're called to prioritize heavenly riches over earthly ones and spiritual over material wealth. If most of us spent half as much time daydreaming about or hungering after or working for and carefully stewarding our spiritual wealth as we do our earthly material possessions, what fine people we would be and what a wonderful world it would be. There is nothing for it, my friends, but to begin with the resources we have. The opposite of storing things up for ourselves is simply to live generously and gratefully for God. The rich fool was a fool because he thought his best chance of joy was in keeping his goods to himself. In fact, one of the world's best kept secrets is how much joy there is to be found in being generous. In fact, only the quality of our generosity can prove that those of us who are wealthy people are not also foolish people. So I do wish you a generous June, and please God, let us not waste a good crisis.